Was good, was good, was good, was good. Was shaking. Yeah, man. So today we gonna do a review. One of my favorite animes that probably ain't too popular. It started off as a series when I was real younger, Afro Samurai, which was dope, which was a very, very, very dope series. If y'all don't know about it. This series right here, I don't know why they haven't done a live action yet about Afro Samurai. Both movies was dope. Well, the first one was kind of a show. It was breaking up into parts. It was produced by the RZA, and the second one, Afro Samurai Resurrection, is just as good. I'm actually kind of scared for them to do a live action movie because I'm scared they're gonna mess it up. I'm scared that they're gonna mess it up. I believe it was on Spike. You know what I mean? If y'all remember Spike TV. And this right here, man, it was a good series. So basically, we start off with Afro Samurai as a little kid. And what ends up happening is we see Afro Samurai's pops is basically a single parent. With Afro Samurai, he's basically a samurai, and he has a headband on. The headband that he has on is the number one headband. Um, the person who possesses the number one headband is constantly pursued, but they can only be pursued. Here's the catch: by the person wearing the number two headband, and the person that ends up wearing the number two headband is a guy named Justice, who's like a samurai cowboy. And he's been tracking Afro Samurai's dad down. He's been constantly tracking him down, and he finally catches up with him. Him and Afro Samurai is on a mountain cliff or whatever, and Afro Samurai's dad. I don't know if he was being optimistic that he could beat Justice or whatever, but basically he lets his son go. You know, there's a little worry in Afro Samurai's face, but he's telling him like, "Don't worry about it. It'll soon be over." So, being that Afro Samurai's dad has the number one headband and Justice has the number two, he has to face him. He's bound by honor to face him. You have to have the number two headband to fight the number one. So what ends up happening is they end up fighting. Afro Samurai's dad and Justice. And Justice ends up chopping off or decapitating Afro Samurai's dad's head right in front of him. And he tells him, after he decapitates his dad's head off, he says, this headband I shall rule the world as God himself. Because it's viewed, if you have the number one headband, it ascends you into godhood. And Afro Samurai, he ain't thinking about that. He just seen his dad get murdered in front of his eyes. So he's not thinking about anything like that. And basically, when he decapitates his dad's head and takes off the number one headband, Justice, he tells Afro Samurai, challenge me when you're ready to duel a god. He tells him, challenge him when he's ready to duel a god. And Afro Samurai, like I said, him being a kid, he doesn't really comprehend it, but he knows. So basically, he's in constant pursuit of the number two headband so that he can avenge his father. So Justice goes off, he rides into the sunset. We don't see what's happening now. The story is based on Afro Samurai. Because Afro Samurai ends up obtaining the headband, and we're going to get into how. So, Afro Samurai, he gets pursued by armies of dudes, sometimes dudes by themselves. And Afro Samurai, in one of the earlier scenes, he heads to a bar. And one of the bartenders, who is a female, lets a stranger that wants to know, why is everybody getting so riled up at the bar? Like, what's going on? It was like, oh, you don't know? Afro Samurai, the dude that possesses the number two headband, he's heading toward the bar. And all the people are arguing and they're fighting each other like, no, I'm going for the number two. And then this person. And basically, long story short, Afro Samurai arrives at the bar and people are pressing him about the number two headband. And Afro is basically quiet. He don't drink. He smokes, but he don't drink. And asks for lemonade. And man, he just punches one really big dude out, and it scares the rest of the dudes for even trying to pursue him. So basically, he damages the bar, and Afro Samurai, the bartender, tells him, like, yeah, it's this much, but because you damaged the bar, this is how much it costs. So he looks at everybody else in the bar, and they basically reach into their pockets and give them, because they don't want no smoke with Afro Samurai. So now Afro Samurai is leaving the bar, and he's being pursued by the guy that didn't even know what was going on in the first place. And he's like a great weapons person that carries many weapons from the village that he comes from. They produce great weapons, and his main weapon is like a arrow gun. And he's shooting Afro, he's shooting at Afro, he's shooting at Afro. And one of the arrows actually grazes Afro Samurai. And Afro ends up cutting the dude at the bar that didn't know what was going on down. Not realizing that the arrow that grazed him is poisoned. There's another catch to this. Afro is being pursued by an elite group of brothers called the MT7. The MT7 want to obtain the headband. Now there's 7 of y'all. Which one of y'all is actually gonna wear the headband? I personally thought it was number 6. This is brother number 6, because brother number 6 is the only one real fit and capable out of the brothers. And he tells them, like, yo, Afro Samurai is wounded. Yo, let's pounce on him now. He's like, no, brother 6, we got to do it more calculatedly. And he doesn't listen. He's rash, and he just tries to come at Afro Samurai. He shoots, like, one of his grenades out of his backpack, and it could actually disintegrate and damage the number 2 headband. That's why they don't want it done that way. And Afro Samurai, he falls into like a waterfall. He gets found by a female named Okito, and he has memories of his childhood. Afro Samurai goes into his memories because he's poisoned and he's laying down, and he starts remembering when he was little, and he had his dad's head in his backpack. And of course, he's had it since his dad's head got decapitated, so it's smelly and things like that. And the guys that are trying to tease and pick on him, Afro, he's not skilled with his sword yet. His dad didn't really teach him that. So he gets beat up, and not only that, he's fighting grown men. He's a kid. So Afro ends up getting beat up, and on top of that, Afro is almost beat to an inch towards his life. Now, Afro gets found by his friend named Gino and his sister, and he takes him to the sword master. Now, the sword master, he takes in kids that are abandoned and left. There's a line that he says in the movie: "We're all abandoned orphans. We're all wounded orphans, Afro." And I know he's really saying metaphorically. And he ends up coming into the dojo with a bunch of students that the master has taken in that was wounded orphans. And he basically starts off Afro Samurai's sword skills. Now we're going back into the present, and Okito, the female who finds Afro in a waterfall clenching onto his sword, lets him know, like, I found you, and I knew you was a samurai. She said, who else but a samurai will be clenching onto his sword, beat to a half inch of his life? So she's applying medicine and cooking for Afro Samurai. Meanwhile, up until he could get back to full strength and healthy. But what Afro Samurai doesn't realize is that she's actually working for the MT7. So now we go back to Afro Samurai's childhood, and Afro Samurai hears talks in the village where he's training at with his sword master about how the number 2 is in town, and Afro Samurai, he's only staying with them to develop his sword skills so that he can have revenge of his father. so that he can challenge us. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, avenging his father. And Afro basically finds the dude, and the dude doesn't have any information for him. D Man Jr. what's good, bro? I'm just breaking down. Make sure y'all share, like, and subscribe, man. I'm just breaking down this Afro Samurai movie real quick. Well, man, Dope Man Jr. and he kills the first guy that he ever had killed in his life as a little kid. Joe the Beast, what's going on, bro? Share, like, and subscribe, y'all. And he ends up going to his master, and his master is very upset with Afro. And he tells him, like, you can't take this route. You can't take this path. Do you know the life of the number two is constantly being hunted down, and things like that? But Afro, he's not really taking in what his master says. And basically we travel back to the present, and the woman who's aiding Afro, she's, putting medicine on his wounds and stuff like that. And she's telling him, like, yo, your wounds are healing really well. You could kind of tell, like, she's kind of into him by the way she's rubbing down, like, putting the medicine on his body and stuff like that. And finally, Afro, he gets the full strength. And meanwhile, the MT7 is contacting, like, look, are you doing what you need to do so that we could take all of Afro Samurai's data and his sword fighting skills? It's basically a chip that they need. And she's like, yeah. Because at first she likes him, but she's not really into him. But now Afro is fully healed. And Afro also has a conscience, his subconscious, that he sees, I guess, when he smoked the weed named Ninja. And he's always there for him, and he tries to give Afro advice and things like that. He doesn't really exist. He's it's kind of like Deadpool and the voices in his head, but only we could kind of see him as the viewers. He's not really seen by other people. And he's telling Afro, like, look, bro, this girl is basically marriage material. She's putting medicine on your wounds. She's cooking and stuff like that for you. Like, yo, you need to go on and do what you need to do with that. And it's hilarious to see the back and forth. This is really a great one. So basically, what ends up happening is Afro is at full strength now. He's ready to leave. And he tells Okito, like, he has a bag of money on him. He's like, here, thanks for everything. And she's like, no, keep it. She said, I know that you're going to leave. I think that she's attracted to that, the fact that he's honorable, and he was willing to give her money for helping him. But she didn't really do it for that. I think she did it more so because they don't say, but I think she did it more so because she was, like, attracted to him, and she liked his swag and stuff like that. So she asks him to do one thing for her. She don't want the money, but she's like, fireworks are happening tomorrow. Could you just stay one more night with me? And Afro Samurai, he basically says, yeah, like, since she didn't take the money, that's the least I could do for her. and they're watching the fireworks now, and basically what ends up happening is he watches the fireworks with her, and she starts they start kissing, and they basically end up, y'all know what happened. They end up doing what they got to do, and she's actually in the process really supposed to kill Afro while they doing it. She has like this comb that has a blade at the end of it. So she's supposed to, but Afro he was putting it on her, so she dropped the blade down, and it never happened. So after it's done, she gets off the phone with the MT7, and they don't trust her. They think that she's compromised now. And man, she ends up um, stabbing the phone. Afro Samurai's behind her, and she basically gets found out. And Afro Samurai's like looking at her, and she's like, "Yo, I was assassin for the MT7, but I really care about you. I really love you. This is that and the third." And he's like, "Get out my way," because he knows that ninjas are there. And he tries to tell her to move out the way, and she gets stabbed by one of the brothers. And I forgot what he says. He says like, "Whore, this is for your betrayal." And he stabs her through the heart or whatever, and the building gets blown up by Brother Six, and they're mad at Brother Six again. They're like, "Bro, you're gonna burn the headband, and we're not gonna be able to fight the number one. Like, relax." But Afro escapes, and he keeps it moving. But they got that chip. They got that chip that obtains Afro's sword skills and everything. So now we go back into the Sword Master. And basically, we learn what happens fully with the Sword Master. Um, Afro Samurai finds out that the number two is in the village. And somebody says that, "Oh, you didn't hear? It's the Sword Master, the one that takes care of all those orphan kids. He basically has them as security guards for him. He has the number two headband now. And now Afro's a little bit older. He's like a teenager, ascending into young manhood, like I want to say 17, 18. And he got much, much better since he first got there with his sword. So now he presses his master. And you got to remember, all of those orphan kids, they became friends. Gino, his sister, all of them became friends. And now people are coming after the sword master. They don't realize it at first, like, yo, why are people raiding the dojo, and why are they coming at us like this? But the kids don't know that the sword master basically, he has the number two headband. So they kill off all of the bad guys and things like that. And then Afro turns to the sword master. Like, is it true? And basically, the sword master puts on the number two headband. He falls in just like All of that trash that he talked to Afro, and he had the number 2 headband. And Afro ends up killing the sword master. And that's how he obtained the number 2 headband into his adulthood. He had to kill his own sword master who raised him, since his father got killed. Because that's a part of having the number 2 headband. There is no friends. There is none of that. It's worse than it's just as bad as the One Ring in Lord of the Rings. You have to get the number 2 to fight the number 1, and you have to remember, Afro Samurai is a man seeking revenge, point blank and period. That is his character. There is no going around it. Friend, family is out the window. When you take that path for the number 1 headband, you gotta realize that you gotta take anything out without dating. Bars. So now Afro sees the robot from the chip that Okiku was tracing about his sword skills. And he's fighting this robot, and the robot is very formidable, but he still remembers his teaching. Afro remembers that I can't be so predictable. He has to be unpredictable and basically be like water, let the moves flow. And basically he does that. And the robot isn't able to read his unpredictable moves. He's able to cut down the robot. So now he's moving towards the MT7, and Brother Six, he runs into Brother Six. He takes out Brother Six easily, just as well as the rest of the other brothers. He kills most of the MT7. Now, before he gets to justice, he runs into his old friend Gino. Gino don't really care about the headband. Gino was mad because he had a family at the dojo. Afro, the rest of the kids that were orphaned there. So he always held that against Afro Samurai, him killing the master. And when he battles Gino and he ends up defeating Gino, and he says, "Why, Afro? Why?" And basically Afro tells him, "For my true father." He kept it real for his real dad. He, what was he supposed to do? So now we get into the final scene. We get into Afro finally meeting up with Justice. And man, it's a battle of the ages, man. Justice is a really gruesome bad guy, but at the same time, he's only doing what everybody else do that wants to obtain the number 1 headband. He can't look at it like, yo, this person has a kid or that person don't got it. You can't look at it like that. If you going for them headbands, all bets is off. So what ends up happening is Afro ends up defeating him, and he learns that you gotta obtain all the headbands. So we end off with Afro having all of the headbands and Afro becoming number one and him finally avenging his father. This right here was a great story. Part two, The Resurrection, I'll Recover Somewhere Down the Line, was also great. It was also a great movie. I'm like I said, I'm so scared for them to do a live action because I feel like if they do a live action, somehow, some way, they gonna mess it up. These animes was great. I think that is good to see black heroes. I think that this is the only reason why I do want it to hit the screen. But like I said, I'm a little nervous if it does hit the screen that they don't do it right. And then I seen the people that they would probably have be Afro Samurai. I think it's important that they get the right. I don't think that they should get a high end actor for this role if they do a live action. I would rather them get somebody brand new. It's not always bad to get somebody brand new. I don't want it to be the regular Hollywood actor, La Keith. We know we didn't got to do that. We don't got to get one of these high end Hollywood. You know what I mean? Get a black dude that's built like him. That got a little bit of acting, but that's not at the top. And take it from there. Also, don't dilute the storyline because the storyline was so good and it was so strong. Or like me and my bro D Man Jr. would say, strong, because that's a different type of strength. When you're strong and strong, it's different. Strong is like the ultimate strength. Now, I mean, strong, you just regular strong. But anyway, I don't want them to dilute the storyline. I want them to really get somebody good. Like I said, don't gotta be a A-list Hollywood star or anything like that. Just get us somebody that can act good enough that can portray this. Like I said, I'm more worried about the storyline nowadays than the acting. I'm gonna say that again. I'm more worried about the storyline than the acting because I know sometimes when it comes to animes or comic books or stories that we have depicted in movies, when they finally get their hands on it, it ends up going a whole nother way. Salute Queen 71, salute. Um you gotta watch this too, Queen 71. You will like this. I think Stormy would like this. Like I said, if they do a live action, I'm really scared though, because I feel like they're gonna mess it up. Look, y'all don't be coming in my chat making love connections. This is a children's channel. Don't be coming in here, Queen 71, before I get my baton out. And I come in here and the first thing you do is get your belt out. You get your belt out for me. Everybody else is all nice and if you have your coffee, then you're nice. Terrible, Queen. Terrible. She said, I'm just showing love to my brother. Okay. Like my nana would say, wait till we see your hind pot. But like I was saying, please, Hollywood, don't destroy this. This was a great. I thought both of the movies was good. The first one and the second one. The second one might have been even better or just as good. They switched the story around a little bit, but it was great. I'm just a little nervous that when, like I said, when they get their hands on it, they're gonna change the story line around. I think they're gonna still keep the number one and number two headband. They gotta keep that theme because that's the whole thing. You know, the number two has to face the number one, so on and so forth. And Afro and Justice, who is voiced by Ron Perlman. Afro Samurai is voiced by Samuel Jackson. Shoot, maybe they should have Sam Jack direct it. Maybe they should do that. I definitely gotta come back for part two. Gotta definitely come back and do part two for y'all. This was a great story. I believe it may be on YouTube. I know one of them is on Hulu. If you got Hulu, the second one isn't as adult. It's a tad bit more kid friendly, but this one right here, you know, they banging and all of that in this one. So that's probably why they have the second one on one of the apps and the first one not so much. But I actually have the Blu-rays, both of them. So definitely a good watch. And like I said, we need more black characters depicted. And there actually was an African samurai who they don't really like to mention. I believe he was in Japan. There's a whole story on it. Look it up. And I don't know if the idea was based from this concept. I would have to look it up. I believe it was, but I don't want to say, oh, yeah, it was for sure based on that. Definitely a good watch. I'm going to say that again. It's definitely a good watch. So please, if you haven't watched this, try to find it. I remember, like I said, both of them used to be on YouTube and you could watch it for free. But I know one of them for sure is on Hulu if you got Hulu. And next week, I'm not sure what I got planned for the channel. Uh, I'll come up with something. Y'all all make sure y'all tune in. Y'all like, share, and subscribe. We're going to get ready to get up out of here. Salute to the LDBC. Salute to the full Berserker clan. Salute to the usual suspects. Make sure y'all shop usualsuspect6.com because you fit the description. It's your boy Act Reach. I never see you wrong. And I'm out of here. Peace.